Hello, I am ever so sorry. I don't really understand what on earth has just happened. Hi, everybody. Apologies, I have no idea what just happened there or what on earth was going on. The joys of technology, and I'm going to blame lots of people using Wi-Fi near me. So let us crack on with updates um, in terms of where we are. Like I say, if you want to ask me a question, feel free to use the chat function. So we break this down into three parts. We're going to look at reports, guidance, and new legislation. So what has been happening? What's been going on? What are we anticipating over what's happened last? What's happening in the next few weeks? One of the things that has literally just been published in the last well, today, in fairness, is the report around homelessness and the number of children who are homeless. We're at a 25-year high in the numbers of children who are homeless, which frankly is utterly, utterly terrifying and really, really sad that here we are in 2023 and we have record numbers of children who are homeless. What else is going on? Well, the HM Inspectorate of Prisons has undertaken a review of youth custody. They have noted and concluded within the report that violence is still an issue in youth custody. I think for those of us who work in and around this arena, we know how bad that is and how the situation is not necessarily improving at the rate that professionals would like it to. This was out the other day, the Commission on Young Lives, which was commissioned by Manchester Metropolitan University. And you may have seen this in and around the press over the last sort of 24, 48 hours, which is around the underreporting of girls who are at risk or are being exploited. A lot of the times, and I think this comes at a particularly pertinent time of year, we're hit the 6 weeks holidays. Some schools have broken up, others are breaking up as we move through the rest of this week. And what we are aware of now through this report is that those girls who are at risk of being exploited are just being missed. They're being missed because they don't report it. They don't see it necessarily. They don't realize what is happening to them. They have what they think are fairly supportive partners or boyfriends who may be older, maybe family members who are encouraging them. And it's just massively underreported. And I think one of the things we need to be mindful of as professionals, particularly those of you who may be doing summer schools, because this affects every age range and it affects every socioeconomic area. It isn't specific to a particular area. Is to be really watchful of those potential signs that there is exploitation happening. And if young people, if young girls in particular, when I say young, I mean teenagers here, be really mindful that if these teenage girls do tell somebody that things aren't right or they don't feel right, that you have a group of people supporting that summer school, that event, who are able to, or at least know who to pass that information on to, so that it doesn't just sit there and sit on somebody's shoulders and they don't really think about it anymore. So we do need to be very mindful of that. And I think there's an opportunity coming, but we do need to be aware of it. Domestic Abuse Commissioner has undertaken a review and there are recommendations for reform needed in the family court. I've worked in this arena for far too long. These recommendations aren't anything new and are certainly things that I know a number of agencies working around the family court have been calling for a long time. What is interesting this time is because of the change in legislation in 2021 and children now being seen as victims in their own right, there is a need now to look at how we manage those situations and how we protect children who are maybe the subject of an application by parent who is the perpetrator. We've also had, within the last 6 months, the UN recognise that parental alienation isn't actually a thing, and it is more about parents who are trying to protect their children. Now, there is a caveat to that, which is, in the most part, there is a parent who is trying to protect their children. But in some circumstances, and I know this because I've dealt with these cases, you do have a parent who is just being incredibly difficult about their partner, ex-partner, seeing their children, and is doing absolutely everything in their power to prevent their children from seeing their former partner, i.e. their other parent and other family. So there is a balance to be struck. We'll see where these reforms go and what they mean, but it is something that, if you're working in and around the family court, have a look at this report from the Domestic Abuse Commissioner, because it may be pertinent. Tying in with the youth custody report, there's now a framework for youth custody. So if you're working in and around that sector, have a look. And the other report that has been released, again, I think is really timely, given the situation that we're in time-wise, is that the Carers Trust have now published a report which says that 82% of 11 to 18-year-old carers feel lonely during the summer holidays. That's a huge, enormous number of young people who are feeling lonely during the summer holidays. And remember, young carers are those who have a caring responsibility, usually for a parent, during life. So they may be responsible for helping them get up. They may be doing little things like shopping, or just making sure that everybody else is fed because the parent isn't able to do so. Carers really covers a multitude of things. So again, if you are working in and around this arena, or you know a young carer, you know somebody who does this, just reach out to them, give them an extra smile, make sure that they are being included. If you're running activities, make sure that they are being included, and that you're working, hopefully, in a way that means that they can actually come and attend and meet their peers and get involved. So those are some of the big reports that we've had over the last few weeks. So where are we in terms of guidance? Well, draft Keeping Children Safe in Education is out. Big focus around monitoring and filtering software, making sure that the designated safeguarding lead is aware of what that entails. There's also a couple of lines, a couple of paragraphs in it that I think are going to have a massive impact for some schools, maybe not others. And that is around making sure that if you are renting your premises out, that you check whether or not there are adequate safeguarding policies of the people you are renting to. I'm going to run another session. I did one at the beginning of this month. I'm going to run another one next month around the changes and what that means specifically for those of you working in the kind of 16+ arena, because keeping children safe in education, you're not beholden to when you're working in over 18s, unless you are caught by some of those additional changes that were made. So those of you who are undertaking apprenticeships may well be caught by some of this as well. So I'm going to run another session on that, and I'll tell you the date at the end. Updates to information sharing guidance, they were published back end of last week. However, there's still an ongoing consultation that hasn't yet finished. So we'll wait and see what else happens. And the School Inspection Handbook has been updated for September 2023. What we still haven't got, and I'm hoping that we'll have by the end of the summer, is DFE guidance, so Department for Education guidance around transgender and how schools are expected to manage that. The law is really clear. You can't change gender until you're 18. The Attorney General has been really, really clear on that. However, I know it's becoming an increasingly challenging area for those of you working in FE and within sixth forms. So hopefully this guidance is going to answer a lot of questions. My suspicion is it's going to throw up more questions than answers, but as yet, don't know, because we haven't seen the guidance and we don't know where it is. And we're just hopeful that it will be useful rather than something that we strive to achieve, but are going to be utterly unable to do so. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. That's still outstanding. And then finally, onto some legal updates. The online safety bill, which is being much awaited, is still awaited. I had hoped that it would have reached its final stage in June. It hasn't. We're now in September. For that, hopefully we will get somewhere with that and see what that finally looks like. And the Illegal Migration Act has now received royal assent. This has been royally, with a small r, disapproved of by international areas. It's there. I know that the judiciary are recruiting a whole raft of judges to try and deal with what they are wholly expecting to be an enormous number of applications and cases that come through the immigration tribunals now. It's here. We're going to have to deal with it. And I suppose my only guidance to you around this is, if you think you're working with young people who are caught by this, then they need to get specialist legal advice. This is a really difficult area and fairly complex. So you'll need to make sure that there are appropriate advice given, because it's not an area you can dabble in. It's not an area I dabble in. It's an area I definitely go out to specialists to, because it's very, very complex and very, very challenging. So just something else to be aware of. Again, as we're coming through to admissions, there are issues around those transitioning from 17 to 18. So there's going to be a whole host of things flying up here. And particularly for those working within local authorities, this is going to be a real challenge. So for those of you trying to get referrals through to a local authority, they are going to be struggling with this as well. And that is really it in terms of what I've got to share with you in terms of updates. Fairly short and sweet this time round. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat now. Otherwise, I'm just going to share the training dates for you. So there's an updated, I'm running the Keeping Children Safe in Education workshop on the 17th of August. There's a Safeguarding DSL refresher on the 21st of September. Members, you've got a place on this. Should you want to, just let me know. I've got a few members booked on it. Trainer update is happening on the 12th of October. So if you're interested, if you deliver safeguarding training, then this is the course for you, because this will update you in terms of everything you need to know that has happened over the last 12 months in one package, in one place. And we'll look at best practice. We'll look at some of the big pieces of legislation that have happened, some big court cases that have happened, and what this means for us as safeguarding trainers and safeguarding facilitators as well. And that's it. Thank you very much for being here with me live. Our next safeguarding briefing is the 5th of September. You'll have a notice to let you know of that. I hope you have a wonderful summer. I'll still be floating about, so members, fear not, I will be about if you've got queries and questions. We'll be more than happy to support you and help you, and particularly if you've got policy reviews and audits that are happening, please do let me know. Otherwise, have a lovely break. Hope you're getting one. And I will see you in September. Take care all.